This episode of Speakers of Heidelin is made possible by our generous patrons. Special thanks to our Supreme and Master Speakers, Omejigat Comet, Erisu Yamakawa, Alex Franco AV, Winebow Brood, Aurora Templeton, Psyche, Asuta Starbreeze, Cletus Oreo, Nina Grimstarter, Lily Black, Bob Cece, Victor Rabentau, Anathus Moonscar, Pamela Isley, Elendriel Maximus, Codruth Novelist, Mira Miri, Celesto Notrell, Lazy Boy, Luke Osborne, Pandalu Stormarrow, Tex, Kylin, Arthur Law, Beridan Derard, Cypup, Spencer Christmas, Celine DeLune, Edwin, Wibster Wolf, Severa, Serge Barrackhield, Kazran, Ventos Tia, Ryark Forbear, Leighton the House, Tony, Arcadia Lunashine, Framboise Sakuro, Bergie, Fudge, Seffield, Cafe, Gregorium Cartus, and AJ Brainswordson. Get early access to audio and video versions of the show, including the post-show, by supporting us at patreon.com/speakersxiv. Thank you. This is Speakers of Heidelin. Good evening, Aorcians. Welcome to Speakers of Heidelin, episode 417. I'm Lakil Bravestone, and I'm joined today by Georgi Wiston, Mela Vanadar, and Rolodes. Hello.
Hello.
It is August the 31st, 2024, and we're here to bring you the latest, actually, very breaking, actually, if you're watching live. And we're also going to dive into two interviews by Yoshi-P. If you've been...
here we go again.
If you've been paying attention, there's been some interviews with Yoshi-P that we're going to talk about today. It's going to be a fun time for me moderating the comments section this week again. So that's coming up, and also we'll be giving our review for the Rising this year, and we'll be squeezing in a couple of MogMails, hopefully, as well. So you don't want to miss that. Stay tuned for the post-show. We'll be answering questions from the Syndicate. I don't know if we're doing the Titanic thing today, because I'm assuming we forgot.
Yeah, we have forgotten.
Yeah. So,
all right,
thank
so
God.
don't worry about it. But we've got loads and loads and loads of questions from the Syndicate, so it's fine.
At this point, we are so, like, the storytelling of that story is so broken up that I don't know if it is worth continuing anymore.
But it's always worth it.
It was a Patreon goal, wasn't it? I mean, you got
it wasn't a Patreon goal. It was a sub goal.
It wasn't? Okay.
Yeah, it was a sub goal. But you know how we are. We're messy bitches. So sometimes things just don't work. So maybe this isn't going to work. We'll see. We'll see next week.
Maybe it will. Exactly.
If we're not doing it next week, then
all right, don't worry. I'll work on it, guys. We gotta do it.
The pressure's on, Mela.
We love it. It's so good.
Okay, a couple of channel updates. So Retrovision, which we've been teasing before, which is essentially we're going to watch old Eurovision and cover it as if it's Eurovision, what we usually do once a year. That starts, we have a date now, it's September 17th this year at 7 p.m. Central European Time. So that's a Tuesday. Yeah, that's normal stream start for those that... so 7 p.m. Central European Time, 6 p.m. BST. I want to say 1 p.m. Eastern for US.
In about 5 hours.
And then
something else for other times for other parts of the world.
Is it 10 Pacific? Because it's 3 times back?
It would be
3
10
hours
10 a.m.
back?
Pacific, yeah.
Yeah, 10 a.m. Pacific. Okay.
Yeah, 10 a.m. Pacifically.
Specifically.
time.
Okay. Also, if you're an audio listener, you might be watching this YouTube video right now. I'm sorry to say our audio version has been taken down temporarily. We're working on getting back. We didn't. I might just just say, because it's as confusing to us as it probably will be for you. We've failed the safety verification of our podcast host provider, which is very odd. So they haven't told us what it is, but
probably Rollo.
Maybe. Don't say anything bad on.
It's absurd because the post show is not included in the public version. So even on the post show, there are podcasts out there that talk about way worse things than we do. So I don't know what has happened here. So
if you uploaded like the audio of a Wednesday or a Monday stream, fair enough.
Yes. But we are also listed as a mature podcast. We're like 18 plus, anyways, to like prevent, because otherwise it would be a nightmare to run this show, because we wouldn't be able to swear at all. We wouldn't be able to and we don't really swear that much in the podcast, but the occasional fuck comes out every now and then, and that's no. If you are not marked as 18 plus. So anyways, we don't know when we'll be back. Hopefully it won't be too long, but you'll probably miss a couple of episodes. But all of a sudden your feed will fill with all the episodes you've missed anyway. So there you go. That's what's happening. See you soon. I hope. I don't know. Right now I can't do anything. I have to appeal. So we'll see what happens. Okay, that's that. Let's see what happens. What's been happening the past week in recent events. Right. Also, I should probably say also that the audio version for patrons is unaffected. That's a completely different service. So you will still get your audio version in your feed as normal. So just want to say that. Okay. So for recent events, top of the show, we have to talk about something that's literally just happened as we went live. Pax West had some reveals during a panel, and first thing was they showed off we don't have any picture. This has just happened. So this is it. Okay. Well, you're just going to hear it from us. We'll describe it to you. There was a survey conducted between the three regions of the game. So NA, EU, and Japan, asking if they're using a controller or a mouse and keyboard. And as not very unexpectedly, the West is majority mouse and keyboard, while JP is majority controller. The numbers are, for North America, 60% mouse and keyboard, 40% controller, and Europe, 67% mouse and keyboard and 33% controller. And JP is 77% controller, 23% mouse and keyboard.
It's a significantly higher ratio for the Japanese players compared to the West.
Yes,
Madness.
that is. Yeah, I mean,
all those PlayStations.
That is, I mean, I'm sure that's, playing on console obviously counts into this. I would like to see console versus PC as well for this survey, in this style.
Well, you can use the keyboard and mouse on consoles now, can't you?
You can, but
you can.
I would assume the number wouldn't be very high.
How does it count? Because I think a lot of people use keyboards plugged into their PlayStations for typing.
For chat. Yeah, I don't think that would count though. Right? If I were to answer that survey and I only use the keyboard for text, I would be like, well, I'm not using a mouse, am I? I'm not,
Exactly.
Oh, you could use that. Remember that the chat pad? Remember that for
the Xbox?
Yeah, for the Xbox chat pad.
I remember that shit. That was.
It was like a BlackBerry.
Yeah, we didn't know how to deal with chat on console for a while. But yeah. There you go. That was revealed during PAX, and then the raid planner. The raid planner was shown off. I mean, it's nice, But it is, like Mela said, it is as janky as we expected. It's using the Bloom, the circus. What's it called? The Carnival.
Carnival.
Yeah.
Mask Carnival? No.
Yeah, the
Mask Carnival. Yeah, Mask Carnival. UI. You know, the one where it shows the arena with the circle, with all the. It looks like the. You know, when you remove the background in like an editing program, you see all those the checkerboard pattern.
And it's all the layers.
Yeah. Or if
the
you're
Half-Life missing texture.
or if you're googling
Gary's
transparent PNG and you get one of those fake ones that has the checkerboard pattern behind it.
You need to see that in motion, really. Otherwise, it's useless to know how it plays out.
Yeah, it has.
It looks cool, but like,
It
how does
looks
it play?
very 14. It has like a list on the left with all the
It looks
stuff,
like
and
you're
then.
going to set up how the fight's going to work in your raid plan than just doing the fight.
Yes.
It's very overly.
I think my favorite part about it is that the arena is a layer that can be moved, as if you would ever want the arena at any layer other than the lowest one.
Yeah.
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
I just feel like, because we just talked about it too, sometimes some features in this game, a lot of it's spaghetti, a lot of it's just weird design choices. I feel like another part of it is they gotta accommodate controller, which ends up making the UI clumsy for both sides.
Yeah. But yeah, we're getting it. So if you were looking forward to the raid planner, it is definitely there's no.
Excuse me, the whiteboard editing.
Sorry.
Yeah, the whiteboard editing.
The whiteboard editing, as it's called in Japanese. Yeah, that will be coming out soon. We don't have a time. We don't have a date. They didn't release specifics on when this will be out, but it's coming. They have a somewhat working.
The most specific they've given is 7.x.
Yes, 7.x.
This expansion.
So
guys,
this
for the next
expansion.
2 years.
Yeah. And then, of course, chat bubbles was shown. This is, it looks good. The picture, it shows different colors for depending on if you're in a party, if they're yelling, shouting. You know, it's color coded like the chat. It can only show one line. So if the text is too long, it gets dotted at the end.
Really?
You see that?
You know what though? I appreciate that because I will more than likely be toggling this off because I don't really like it.
I think you have to toggle it on. I think it's obvious.
I think it's
fine,
off by
too.
default.
The fact that people aren't going to just see just massive copy pasta spam is going to be.
Well,
that's what I want. That's the MMO experience. But I wish I could control
good for you
it
because I don't want it.
If I could have it so like I don't want party members' messages to be shortened or like that'd be great.
Yeah.
But and then shorten everything else, that'd be fine. But having it all shortened, it's like
there will be a character limit. There's no way they're going to leave it like unlimited because that's going to be abused. Like, that's going to be abused. But I think only having, because if you look at the one screenshot that is out there, it's they say like goodbye or thank you. I must now take my leave or something, and it gets cut off. That's too long of a sentence to show in the chat bubble. There's no paragraph.
That's not even a long sentence. Oh my god.
No.
Yeah, but it's a prompt, so you know someone said something to then look at what they said.
I guess so.
It's
It's not like you've lost. The chat is still on screen.
No, but the monkey's paw.
It is monkey's paw. I can imagine though that there is a setting for like how short you want them, but there will definitely be a hard cap, like hard limit on how many characters you can show.
Please just give us the option. A filter would be great. That's all I want.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that limit's too small even for like. I think it should be
2 paragraphs at least.
Yeah.
Like
2 paragraphs?
No, sorry, 2 lines. I meant 2 lines. 2 lines, not 2 paragraphs.
If they had to do a hard limit, I think 2 lines would be perfect. That's not.
Yeah.
That's not really big. It's just a stacked one, and NPCs, I think, do longer themselves.
Yeah.
They do.
So there's that. You can. Also, I should say, still in development. So obviously, all of this is very much subject to change.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure the feedback on the chat bubbles and the raid planner they're going to listen to that as well, take that into consideration as they move forward. Okay.
I gotta say.
Yeah.
Sorry, just one more thing. I think it's very funny that anytime there are other tools, SC is very quick to be like, oh no, we can do it too. You don't no,
Yeah.
we can do it.
Yeah.
It'll take us 3 years, but we'll do it too.
Yeah. And here we are.
For what it's worth, I do appreciate that pressure.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's, even though that seems like a huge number of people and like a very, lots of people are using these sort of tools. I think it's a very small number of people who actually do. So to have it officially is just nice in general.
It's so, well, it should be not talked about that much in the first place. And I think,
Right.
I don't even think you do it in the subreddit that much, can you? Like the official
Not
one?
really anymore.
No.
Like, I think ACT is still like pushing the line for some people.
Yeah.
Anything past that is like, oof.
Yep. Okay, so there you go. That was from Pax West. Moving on. Well, also it made me wonder when we're getting the next live letter. Like, it was surely an announcement is on the horizon, I would assume. Like,
it must be in like September or early October.
which September starts tomorrow. So hopefully we'll get an announcement soon. It's been a long time since we've last had a live letter. So
When did we launch? The beginning of July?
yeah.
I don't think we've. I mean, maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't think we've had a live letter since launch, have we?
No.
So we're definitely
July,
due one.
August. I mean, the first patch is going to be around, let's say November. So I would have
Late October would be the earliest possible, but that's unlikely.
Yeah.
So,
And usually we get like 2 live letters before a patch release, if I remember. So
we get one where it's got like the
Like part
trailer and one with the art and one. With,
Well,
like,
I guess, yeah, they were busy with the Korean Fan Fest and the Chinese one.
Yeah. that's true. And then there's
we need
Gamescom.
to see Echoes of Vana'diel.
Yeah. Then.
Echoes of Vana'diel, yeah. We'll
Can't wait.
definitely get more of that.
But yeah, they were busy with Gamescom, and there was also that French event, and now they're going to be in Australia next month.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
It's a busy time for like journalism and news.
yeah. So we'll see. I think an announcement will be coming within the next week or two, probably. There must be a live letter soon, I think. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yoshi-P is going to be very tired in that live letter. He's done a lot the last few months. But all right, moving on. Speaking of Australia, there he is. He's coming to Melbourne International Games Week.
Whoa!
Wow. I hope
Dude,
people don't
is that
harass
the one
them on
where-
the streets with their horrific Australian sayings.
Good day, mate. No!
He'd cower. He's fucking start crying. Don't
Yeah,
be-
they're going to call him the C word constantly, and he'll just be like, oh my God.
You dingo.
That's on Tuesday, the 8th of October. Join producer and director Naoki Yoshida for an exclusive developer talk during Melbourne International Games Week, hosted by Stephanie Hex Bendixson.
Ben
Yeah,
Dixon.
she's a very well-known games journalist in Australia.
Oh, that's a cool last name. I love what they've done with
Ben Dixon.
Yeah, Ben Dixon. Because that's a name we have here, but it's with a K. But it's like an X, so it's like cool.
Yeah, they've gone wild.
You gotta pronounce it like that, though.
Yeah.
No other
Yeah.
way.
No, yeah. Get a behind-the-scenes look and discover the development strategies behind Final Fantasy XIV as Yoshida discusses his creative process and learnings from the 3 decades of experience that explores the current and future landscape of the MMORPG genre. This one-night-only event will take place on Tuesday, the 8th of October, 2024. So that's at the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre, Goldfields Theatre. That's 7 p.m. local time.
Make sure to get down there.
You also get
outside.
You get a commemorative poster as well.
While stocks last.
While start, yeah, probably
Design
like
also not final, subject to change.
A4 size.
Oh yeah, and it's just printed.
Yeah,
And it will also be streamed for those that aren't able to attend, like
Right.
most of you that aren't in Australia. The event is limited to 1,000 attendees, which I thought was quite a lot, but it is already sold out. It was far from sold out when I looked at it, and then when I looked at it
Georgie,
again
we
6
told
hours
you.
later, it was. You told me nothing. Shut the
We
fuck
told
up.
you to get it then.
We were begging
No,
him
you did not.
constantly. It's like, Georgi, look,
Please,
it's
Georgi.
available.
I
You
talked
have to do it.
none of you about this before.
The slow worm gets no
happened.
worm now. Look.
Georgi, please, please.
slow
worm.
No, he said. I will
No,
check
no,
back
listen.
later, he said.
Listen
slow
to what
worm.
Rollo just said. The slow worm will get no worm.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's so true,
That is
though.
true. Aristotle said that, and that's wise shit.
I am on the wait list if tickets become available because they said they might open up for more. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And then once they say there are tickets, he'll go, I'll check later, and then they'll be gone again.
It's gonna be
I
like
mean,
with
if
you
I
guys,
get an email like that, I'm definitely going to respond pretty quickly.
like
Yeah.
you guys in FanFest that one year. You're like, oh yeah, we're definitely gonna go. We're definitely gonna go. What, you're
I
gonna
don't
go,
know
right?
if this is
You're gonna go?
exactly comparable because that was over more than a day.
Yeah.
That was
That was a
extended
week of
over
edging.
At least a week.
We
Yeah.
had the
You
we had
gaslit
the
each
ticket
other.
in our baskets ready to go.
Oh yeah, but then we were just like, it was like a standoff. We were like, because I was like, I'm not buying this ticket if I'm going alone. And then there was
Yeah.
just doubt between both of us because we were both like, no, I'm not going. I am though. That's what we kept saying. I'm not going, but I am. So yeah. Anyways, it's very similar actually, Rollo, to what Georgi did. Yeah, because we were like, Georgi was like talking about it, is like, I'm gonna do it, and we're like, yeah, go do it, Georgi. And it's like, he checked it, he's like, I'll check back later. We're like, no, Georgi, buy it now, please. And he's like, no, I'll check back later. Then he checked back later, and lo and behold, sold out. It's exactly
Slow
that's
worm,
true.
Georgi.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
He was a slow
if there
worm,
is,
and that means he gets no
that's
worm.
That's how you know that something is 100% accurate story when it is followed up by the phrase, "It's true."
It's true.
Yeah, exactly.
For real, on God.
for real.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, God, we went off here. Yes. So, if you want to, no, you can't. If you haven't bought the tickets, sorry, it's too late. But if you have tickets,
But
cool.
sign up.
You can email and be on the wait list.
That's true.
I didn't know there were 1,014 players in Melbourne, but apparently there are. I mean, I should have known that, but I've never met them.
What if they're like?
Well, you have a chance to.
Yeah. There might be just scalpers too that just bought them. It's like,
Well,
you're
yeah,
gonna make so
well-
much money, and there's like no one.
I cannot imagine that there's going to be that much markup. The tickets were $10 each.
That is so cheap.
$100.
I know it's ridiculously cheap.
Yeah. So yeah. That's
Yeah,
probably
the
also why
weird
it sold
part-
out so quickly. Yeah.
I will say the weird thing is that, as far as I know, Yoshi-P is not going to be at PAX Australia, which is later in the week. But he is going to be in Melbourne for this. So,
Yeah.
The
Interesting.
whole evening.
Yeah. So yeah, October 8th. So that's in more than a month. But there you go.
October.
Yeah, we'll be busy with a Spooktober actually. So yeah. Moving right along. The Rising. It happened.
Oh no, it's
Yeah.
Oh Yo-Yo or whatever the hell the name is.
Yeah.
Yo-Yo.
Yo-Yo. The Rising event just happened. It's ongoing right now. Spoilers for The Rising if you haven't done it yet. It's quite quick, about 15 minutes,
It's 2 minute
20 minutes
quest.
maybe.
And then
it is 2 quests. It's
follow-
definitely longer than the Moonfire Fair event.
Yes,
yeah.
for sure.
The Yo-Yo has the bluest eyes too.
Oh,
Yes,
you
very.
saying that-
Those baby
saying that with
blues.
such admiration, such.
I know. Yeah, I look really like little jewels.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very pretty eyes. Yeah, story. Just summary of the story is it's quite an interesting. They do this every year, but like there's a lot of references to actual old lore in this event.
That's why the Rising gets more of a pass, because for any other event, this wouldn't be much of a story. But
No.
there's something about the Rising
Yeah.
that just like it's because it's so 14, whereas the rest of it's just Halloween. It's
I
just
mean, yeah, the
Christmas.
Rising is like a real
In-law,
event.
like,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Influenced by real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go like when they do like a mention. I know that.
Oh,
I
I know. I clapped.
I know,
I know
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, she used to be like a retainer. sort of
She
thing.
did
like
used
a-
to be a retainer. Well, we don't find that until after. We'll talk about
Yeah,
that at the end because that's a post quest
Yes.
revelation.
Yeah.
It's a shame she's such a caricature, though.
mm,
Of
She's
what?
not as bad as the rogue quest line NPCs. but
Oh.
mind you, she doesn't know what she wants to be. Sometimes she's a pirate, and sometimes she's a 94-year-old grandma. Hello, dearie.
Oh, that's true.
Pirates aren't going dearie, but she's hello, dearie.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think she's a pirate. I think she just talks how she, based on the
She's
people that are
Limson.
around her.
Hello, how are you, dearie?
Well, she has come to. She wants to spice up the Rising. She wants to make the fireworks more grand.
Because apparently it's Limsa's turn to host it.
Yes.
When's
They're
it
the host
Gridania's
this
turn to host it?
Next time,
They
maybe.
hint. I think they've just now found like what they're going to do for the next few years for the Rising. We're going to go to Gridania next and do like a fireworks display there, and then we're going to go
Burn the
to
trees down.
Ul'dah, do a fireworks display there. And then they can't go any further because those are the three
Yeah.
city-states that they can
Because
use.
they've given themselves an arbitrary limit on.
Because they make it
seasonal
level
events.
15 every time.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't.
Even though players wouldn't get, most people would do it. And whatever.
Yeah, well, they
So
can't go to
frustrating.
Ishgard chat because Ishgard
So
is
frustrating.
level 50. You need to be to go
I
there.
then they've done it sometimes. They've done some events where a low-level person couldn't do it.
Oh, Ishgard is in the free trial. Sorry, that is so.
so is
Ishgard is on
Stormblood.
free trial, but
Yeah.
that
So is
still
Stormblood.
requires you to be
Another-
at level 50.
Oh, but
to
come
get
on,
there.
it's like
Yeah, I
it's
know.
so limiting, especially in terms of like lore. It's so annoying.
Yeah, and also limited by story. Yeah, so you can't just like drop in to do a seasonal. I mean, who the fuck does that? It's like, oh, have you heard of the Rising event in Final Fantasy XIV? It's like, oh yeah, let me create a character real quick and do that event.
Yeah,
That's what I
But
want to do.
Also, the reward too for this Rising in particular is like, oh yeah, I really gotta get the table titty.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah, the table
I
titty.
gotta get that lamp.
Wow, that's the first
I don't-
MMO that has a table titty. I definitely need to get that. Yeah, it's
I
very
mean, the
strange.
Rising has the least connection to new players because it has no association for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the newer you are to this game, the less the Rising probably means to you.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So so she wants to do that. The Wandering Minstrel is there, you know, as he always is. He drops a few like lore bits from 1.0, like when he was imprisoned or put in jail by Carvalane. I'm getting ahead of myself,
Greg.
but yeah, so she wants to make the fireworks look better this year. So we need to find a way to do that. How do we do that?
First, she needs permission from Captain Reina.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we also not have to go talk to people to like figure
Yeah,
out what they
yeah,
want?
they're-
Oh yes, you need to. Yes, first.
Fair
That's,
enough, like
that's
random
correct,
Yeah,
first.
but you hear about
What
people.
do they want for this year's event?
There's the grizzled old mariner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They talk about their loved ones being passed. There's the lady whose husband died.
Mhm.
No, her husband's not.
husband-
dead.
No,
He's
she's
at
not
sea.
dead.
He's at sea.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was the
I thought her husband was
Right,
dead as
yeah.
well, based on just the description of her and where she was looking.
Yes.
yeah.
The vibes were dead husband for sure. But the Rogadan at the stalls.
The shopkeeper one. Yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned the event that I bring up every now and then, Foundation
I was going
Day.
to bring this up. Yeah,
and I was like, yes.
I think that's cool.
Yeah. Which was a celebration of the grand companies. And then
It was the equivalent of the Rising back then, wasn't it?
yes, it was. Yeah. It's on the same time. And then we talked to them. We asked them what the Rising is to them and what they would like want from the Rising.
Did we know the backstory of Baderon's like waitress before this?
I don't think so.
Had it been? Because I don't remember if it had ever been mentioned that she was like in despair after the calamity, and then Baderon took her in.
What was the name of the bar again? I can
Drowning
check
Wench?
real quick.
Drowning
The
Wench?
drowning wench.
Drowning Wench. Okay, I'm gonna check real quick then, because now I'm actually curious.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I think they've just expanded on it.
I don't think she had much of a backstory before this.
No,
But
at most I can remember her being involved in is like a part of the Rising quest. Not Rising, the Rogue questline. Sorry.
yeah. Okay, so we go through there. We go through and talk to people, and then we go to the. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter.
That's when she.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when Ayoyo
Yeah.
has the idea for the massive fireworks display.
Yes. Using cannons to launch the fireworks.
But
So
they need a fleet, and she decides we're going to ask the Black
Well,
Pirate.
well, first we need
Well, first
permission
she asked permission
from
Yeah,
Carveling.
yeah.
No, not
Cap-
Carveling.
from
Rayner.
Captain Rayner, who's the leader of the Yellow Jackets.
Yellow Jackets. Yeah.
It was nice to go into the downstairs of Coral Tower.
Man.
I like Coral Tower area.
Yeah.
You guys remember the Yellow Jackets? Like, what a
Vaguely, yeah.
that's such like a man. They're so small scale and so far away now. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Oh,
they were
mean,
adders,
listen,
and they're the
they're not
fucking-
adders.
No, I'm saying that they're like the adders or not. Sorry, the
No, they're not like
Maelstrom.
twin adders.
no. What are
No.
the fucking? What are those?
He's talking about the police forces that each of the
The
city states
Godspray
has.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, God. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I'm saying we're so far gone from that. I
Yeah.
barely even think about it now.
Yeah.
The wood
Um,
whalers,
The wood
yeah.
whalers.
the wood
Well,
whalers.
that was it.
Yeah. What's all the brass plates? Okay, so we get permission. We do get permission, but we also suggest because we want the flagship, and then we want the three pirate factions as well to join in, the Black Sails, as they're also known as. And so we have to do that. We have to meet with Carvelane, Roswin, and the
Executioner Man.
Executioner Man, Bloody Executioner. No. Yes?
Yeah, but it's not the actual leader of the bloody execution.
It's
No,
not,
because
is it?
that's.
So that's currently for us, the
Yeah.
people that are up to date in this main scenario. That's Sicard.
Yeah.
But for people who aren't, it wouldn't matter to them.
That's why
Yeah.
then.
Had to
Okay.
pick
I
a
was
random
confused
road.
about that too, because I was expecting to see him there, but okay, so that's why
That's
they've.
why That's why Sicard is relegated
I
to a post quest appearance.
Yeah, I saw him in there. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah, you sort of have to like convince them. It doesn't matter what you pick in these options.
No,
Yeah.
did you fuck around with them?
Yeah, I
you-
only picked the options to make them like.
That's what I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to reveal her.
Listen, I'm so tired of the will they won't they. Just fuck
I know,
already.
Yeah.
It's been like how long? I'm so tired.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's one-sided as far as we know. Carvelane has never shown any interest, and in fact, he seems oblivious anytime you bring
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
Because it's funny.
That's true.
It's so funny to watch. But like, yeah, I agree with you. Like,
It's like,
show some like progress in the storyline.
Mm,
like more than 5 years now at this point. Like,
yeah.
They should be in the next Valiant Tunes Day where they get together.
Oh, that's a good idea. But then they'll forget about it in all future quests, and they'll be back to
Exactly. That's why it can't be a seasonal quest thing.
Megan,
No.
it's got to be a patch quest. It needs to be the main focus
It's
of
the
the next patch
MSQ.
specifically.
Yeah.
We're playing matchmaker.
7.1 is Lovebirds.
Yeah. So we do get their cooperation. They agree to join in, and
I
then
didn't know that the Black Flags were that involved with the Cartano.
oh no, they
No,
were.
that
There
was
was a
cool
whole
law.
that was a whole thing in the story near the end is to unite. Well, I don't know if it was a. Oh, it's been so long, but it definitely was a thing. So they are.
That's nice.
I mean,
didn't
males.
know.
Remember,
It was cool.
Limsa was a mess in 1.0. Like it was.
It was
Everything was a
united
mess,
popular.
to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course they were there as well. Yeah. So that's.
I think her speech was the best part, the convincing thing where she said like, the people who gave the most but had the least to gain deserve the honor of shooting the cannons. I thought that was really sweet. It was nice.
Yeah. And so we wait for the fireworks, but then the wandering minstrel's like, let's play a tune.
Yeah.
Let's give you a headache.
Forces us into a.
How about a headache while we wait?
He like breaks open our trauma.
Yeah.
And makes us relive the past.
And we get a message from Yoshi-P, which
Wasn't that good.
it
It
was
wasn't indicative of anything,
No,
really.
it wasn't
No.
anything.
no.
There was
He-
some like sexual tension between him and our character. Did you feel that?
What?
Like a little
No.
bit, you know? Like I don't know,
There's a
something about, like,
sly grin.
there was like some close-ups of the camera, and not, like I was like, oh.
Are you sure it's not just because you play a female character?
No,
Because I
think
definitely
it's
didn't
true.
feel it.
Yoshi-P was flirting for
He
sure.
did,
You're right.
absolutely. I don't mean like in the
Rollo wants
dialogue.
it.
No, and then it's also
Rollo
funny
sees
too.
what he wants.
He wants
No,
It's the first year that I've noticed that his hair is different in his representation of himself to the Wandering Minstrel, which didn't used to be the case, and it's because obviously Yoshi-P's hair has changed
Yeah.
since the Wandering Minstrel was first created.
Yes, that's true.
that's detail.
Yeah.
And my God, does he look so white compared to the Wandering Minstrel?
So that yeah, we looked at the moon, had a moment
A lot of people in that cutscene. A decent amount, actually.
when we were waiting for the fireworks, or when the fireworks starts. Yeah.
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 Right before you get sucked into the dream realm or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We return and then we get to see the fireworks. Now I haven't checked, but I noticed that when I was doing the after that the post quest where you can, there's some characters, we'll go through them, but I noticed that the fireworks had like gone back to like just default in the background.
They do that afterwards. Yeah.
Okay, so that never happens again. We never get
That's
to see
just-
it.
No.
No. Okay.
That's just for the cutscene.
That's kind of sad.
I mean, it would be fucking tiring for the entire fleets to be out there the entire time.
That's
Oh.
true, but yeah. I wish there was like a visual reward, like an upgraded
I know what you mean.
fireworks display or something. Okay, so then after that you get an option. There's a destination glow where you can click it and it'll.
Blends in quite well. I was like I said, there'll be more people around the anchor, and I was like, okay, I'll look around for them.
Yeah.
I'll touch the Wandering Minstrel, and then in the brightness of the sun, I eventually saw the glow.
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Here's the thing, I timed this event really well. By the time I was talking to the Wandering Minstrel and a yo-yo at the very end, the sun was setting in the background, and then it forces the nighttime. So I was like, oh, that's very cinematic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that also made the marker very easy for me to see.
Yeah. So the people that you can
5 people.
there's 5 people. Well, depending on how far you are in the story, there's 5 people.
I assume there's a minimum of 3.
Yes, I would assume so. One so
Badaron.
Badaron.
Baderon's first, who you get a
Baderon
little bit
10.
more of the, you get a bit more of a backstory between what he did, what he was doing post Calamity.
Mm-hmm.
The woman gave him a whole bottle of Bacchus wine,
Yes.
which she doesn't need to do, but a bottle of Bacchus is a bottle of Bacchus.
Yeah.
It's the man from the Bismarck.
Yeah,
the head
culinarian.
chef. I don't remember his name.
Oh,
What the fuck?
Oh,
Yogi.
Georgi was never seen or heard from
he's-
again.
well, oh,
Sorry.
Oh,
That was
weird.
unusual.
yeah.
What does the Bismarck guy say?
He talks about Ayoyo's background, how she was used to be a retainer.
Yes. She was the retainer. See, that was interesting. So she used to be a retainer, and she can't remember the master that she used to make fireworks with and stuff. Is that meant to be some, like, hint of anything, or is it just because of the calamity? I wasn't sure where to read into it.
Sorry, what did you say? Sorry, I was Georgi's camera. I blanked out on everything you said while I was trying to figure out.
Yo-Yo Girl was a retainer, and she made fireworks, but
Yeah.
she can't remember anything about her master, who she.
Yeah, I think that's because her master was one of the Warrior of Light,
Yeah, that's what I was
Warriors of Light. Yeah, I think
Oh.
that's the idea. Also, the other thing I liked about that is the idea that her master just told her to sell fucking I don't know, Harbor Herald thingies.
Yeah,
is what it sounds like.
Yeah,
he knew how to make money.
yeah,
Smart.
yeah,
That was cute, yeah. Then it was the Admiral Merle with Bliff's with splints.
yeah. And she is
She doesn't chat
Merle
much.
Webb?
She's just like.
No, she doesn't really
lol.
offer much. Hers is very generic.
Yeah.
I've got some duties to get on with. I'll offer a prayer to Limlane the Seagull.
Yeah, Limlane the Seagull. And then there's Sicard.
Mhm.
And
He doesn't seem to explain himself well enough as to why he's wasn't
Well,
really
it's just-
participating.
It's just to acknowledge that like he is the current acting head of the bloody executioners.
yep.
Yeah.
And then
And then there's Derek.
Derek, if you've done the Myths of the Realm
And
quest,
the Oppo Oppo.
and his Oppo Oppo,
Mm-hmm.
where he didn't really. It wasn't
He
much
talked
there
about
either, but
festivals of the past and how they got so excited about festivals that they'd sometimes sneak down and,
yeah,
see, look around. And he stared at Limlane's seagull statue.
yeah.
Very touching.
I see chat is confused about like there's a prompt that shows up on screen after you finish the quest where I read that as just a reminder, like they have to do this because there might be people that are doing this quest that have never done a rising event before.
I think it's a reminder, possibly for the people that didn't do last year's Rise. Well, not a reminder, just information in general.
Yeah.
Because it will give them access to the POM, the breakout minigame we got last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great.
Because it's classic 14 to not have some sort of like flag to like tell if you've done previous events or already have seen this message, because it's 14, so everyone gets it. So that's just how that works. Okay, so yeah, I thought it was a nice event. Obviously, we've not gone too in depth. I don't want to just go retell the whole event, but
It's a nice dive back into lore of the game.
yes,
I wasn't expecting, to be honest, I wasn't expecting it to go that much into the background of the game, considering like they were all most of the posts online were highlighting it was the 11th anniversary of A Realm Reborn specifically.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
I
true.
agree. I like when they talk about the calamity and sort of the rebuilding effort, and I like when the game gets very grounded. Like, for example, when like during the warrior quests, when he has to go to the hot springs and stuff. Like when it makes the characters like real and it feels very grounded, like a real world. I like that because sometimes it can get too, like we're just OP and godlike and whatever. So it's nice when it gets sort of back to its roots.
Yeah, I agree. The rewards do feel. I mean, I think the wind-up minion is never like it never feels relevant. It's relevant to the expansion, but it's not relevant to the Rising event. The Cryal.
That's how the Rising always works for the minions.
Yeah, but also the table tit. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why. The interesting thing I think about the Cryal minion is when you compare it to the previous Cryal minion, it really shows you how much more detail they can put onto the minions now. It shows you like the progress we've made graphically in this game.
Yes, look at the first launch A Realm Reborn minions and compare them to
the wind-up cursor.
Yeah, fantastic.
Oh God.
Okay.
No one uses it anymore, so actually
Did you
it's very cool and outstanding if you have it on.
Yeah.
Did you see all the background NPCs that were there?
I didn't notice many people.
There's only 3 groups. There was, you remember the man that made the stained glass of the Sultana and the Sultana 7?
Yes.
He was there with his boyfriend. They're by the seagull.
Oh yeah.
In near the Hawker's Alley Aetheryte shard, there is Mother Mirren and what's her name? What's the Uldar one called?
Oh,
Momodi.
Yeah.
Momodi, yeah, they're both there. And then closer to the Arcanist's Guild is Emmeline and Onawa. Emmeline is talking about how Emmeline's talking about how Sicard has worked very hard and you should buy him something.
That's true then. Oh, I'll have a scour. I already noticed the guy in the background who's surrounded by women. The guy who's sat by the lemonade statue.
He's always there.
Yeah,
Permanently sat there, surrounded by aggressive women.
Yeah. So it's hard.
Oh yes, there was one more near where he picked up the quest. Sorry, it's Kippy Jakia and her brother in the Aft Castle as well.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so comparing it to last year, the Rising is kind of weird to compare it to last year because they're all pretty.
I mean, last year's was a bigger reward. I mean, it was the 10-year anniversary.
Yes, that's true. What was the reward again?
The Phoenix.
That was a good one.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Yeah, that's hard to beat that. But that was the 10th anniversary, so a bit unfair to like compare.
It's also, we got the mini game last year, which was very fun and quite a lot in depth compared to anything we got this year. The story, I think I liked less than this year. It was it was just about Kippy's brother sort of
that
going
stuff
into his own as an adventurer. It wasn't bad, but I think I preferred this year's actually.
This one felt more like in line with the Rising. It was based on the lore and history of this world. So
Yes.
I thought this is a decent Rising. This is a good Rising event. So
The
event itself
storyline
was
is good.
Yeah, I agree with chat that I think the message from Yoshi-P this year and the Wandering Minstrel was very nothing.
It was a little vague.
It was
and weird. Yeah,
It was not. Yeah, the actual in-game stuff was good. The out-of-game stuff was a bit blah. The rewards.
I mean,
were
we seemingly don't even have Tales from the Dawn, I guess is what they would call it. We haven't got them yet.
True. There's no short
Hey,
stories.
what if they call it Trails from the Dawn? No.
Now, see there you go. Now you're cooking.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Rising, good. Where if we were to rank it as we do now, from S to F, where are we?
It's
Siege.
yeah.
Well,
Say
it's like
C.
I think it's a low B for me. I don't think it's as low as a C for me.
I would put it in B. I like the lore in that.
I like the
That's
lore, but like, what the fuck is the light? Like,
I mean,
it boggles the mind so much. I gotta knock it down a little bit. Like it's
fair.
It's just like they littered Limpsa with boob lamps for no reason.
They
are
did.
everywhere.
They're trying to justify the fact that we're getting the table tit.
If it was just Kryl, it'd be B. But it's just so weird. Why?
It is weird.
I don't think a reward has ever lowered my opinion of an event. I'll say
Not
that.
for
much.
me ever, but this one just it's strange. Very strange.
For the first
Doesn't
time
make much sense.
when doing the Rising, I didn't really care about the reward because I felt like I was like, this is the Rising. You know, this is just
It's
lore.
always just a minion.
Yeah.
too.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't really.
Good. I wish they would have some little hint from Yoshi-P to sort of theorize about, though. which we
Yes,
normally
that I
do.
agree
do
with.
like them.
Yeah.
I kind of miss that.
It might be too early for him to do that. I don't remember how this usually goes.
They have confirmed that they have finished this next. Or they've been working on the next
Well,
expansion.
they know what they're doing for the next
Well, we
expansion.
don't normally find out about the next expansion. It would be teasing
We
the
would
patch
get
cycle this time.
Yeah, which we
Yeah, yeah.
definitely know about.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that was the Rising.
Pretty
Worth
cool,
doing
pretty
for the
cool.
lore. Don't do it for the rewards because
Very
it's
good for the
it's a
lore.
tit and it's a not a real tit even.
Brushed up Kryl is decent.
There's brushed up
Brushed up
Kryl,
Kryl.
but
Yeah.
I'm brushed up.
yeah.
One of the only events that really actually digs into the lore.
Yes.
Most of the rest are very surface level.
Yes. Okay. That's the Rising. Let's squeeze in. We might only have time for one MogMail today. So let's do that. Let's jump into MogMail. This is from Tristan Lightwell from Brynhilder. Hi, speakers. I have a. Oh yeah, right. This is too big to show, so we'll. Sorry. Hi, speakers. I have a theory that I wanted to share with you all to get your take on it. I think Allagan technology unintentionally led to the development of electrope technology on the shard Alexandria is from. And I think this explains why there is some weird occasional overlap in how the technology looks. So this is kind of a lot, but I'll be as brief as possible.
Not brief enough to fit on screen.
Nope. Allag's rise took place in the Source's third astral era, and its fall during the fourth umbral era. Since it was a near world-spanning empire, it's safe to assume they left technology in a ton of places, not just Eorzea. We see it almost everywhere in various forms. The Allagans had a focus on summoning, also called Arcanima, and it was refined into an almost technologic level. The Lalafell who inhabited Alo and the surrounding islands were well known to practice Arcanima, which they can be assumed to have picked up from Allagan remnants and adapted to their own uses. When the Fifth Umbral Era hit, ice took over the Isles, and the Lalafell evacuated to Alexandria's Shard. That Arcanima was what allowed them to do so much work with Electrope. Alo has mystic runes painted/drawn/inscribed all over the island, which could be seen as a precursor to the runes you see on Electrope. There is also an overlap between big rune-covered rock monsters on Alo and big rune-covered rock monsters in Skydeep Cenote, where the portal to the Golden City is. So Allagan Arcanima technology, adapted/refined by Lalafell on Alo, taken to Alexandria's Shard and applied to Electrope. Then, with years/decades/centuries of further refinement, we end up with things like Everkeep, a structure which might even surpass the Crystal Tower in terms of power. I have quite a few questions, though. Why is there so much Electrope in Skydeep Cenote? Is it not supposed to It's not supposed to exist on the source. Did it somehow grow there with the portal when the portal was created? Is it more organic than technologic? Did someone on the source help open the portal from this side? Were the giants involved somehow? Is that another place where the two realities merge, like Alexandria and Oh God, what is
Yasulani.
this? Yasulani. Yas. And does all this mean the key/chalice artifact that allowed the Lalafell to escape to Alexandria is somehow an adapted Allagan artifact? I hope we get a lot more answers in the upcoming patches, and I'd love to see this explored more. I hope the MogMail wasn't too long, but I'd love to hear y'all's take on it. Thanks for the content. Sphene! Tristan Lightwell. Whew. Well, yes. I mean, this has been bothering me for a while. It's the portal as well. The portal
is weird.
Is out. I mean,
portal's out of it. It's a different design to the surroundings. It's not Electrope.
No.
Well, it probably is Electrope. It just doesn't look like
Electrope. Yeah.
No. I mean, this is a good theory.
Into a tough corner with Electrope, as
Yes.
they often do, where they've created some all-powerful thing. So that's going to be interesting to
Yeah,
get through.
I just want to say about the portal, I don't think the portal is Electrope. I think it's powered by Electrope. I mean, the stuff around is in that like material. You know, that's what we said when we saw it the first time.
The
Everything
floor
around
and
it
the
looks
walls is Electrope.
foreign as fuck. But then you see the portal, and it's like, that's just an Allagan portal, isn't it? So
It does look like one.
I don't know. It's weird, and
But
hope-
what does that mean?
I mean, yeah, what does that mean? I mean, we've.
Did the Allagans make contact first? Did they somehow find a way to the we'll call it the 9th? We can't confirm that.
Well, yeah. Yoshi-P has, in an interview that we haven't covered, casually mentioned that Alexandria is the 9th shard, but
He said that's what it is, okay?
Yeah.
Don't question him.
we don't know if we need more confirmation.
We'll discuss that. I think we're going to talk about the interview. in the
Yeah,
future.
we will.
And we'll call it that for now.
We'll
but
call it the 9th for now.
What if the Allagans made it there first? What if they're the cause of
Not
the
im-
downfall?
I mean, that is not impossible because we
It
know the Allagans did tinker with shard travel. Like they did, that was a
the
big.
power of the Crystal Tower is confirmed to be able to travel through space and time,
Yes.
essentially.
Yes.
Now, this MogMail is suggesting that Everkeep could be even stronger and more powerful and more etherically rich.
Yes.
But does it have that power?
I don't even know if we know if Everkeep is particularly etherically rich.
It's
I
just
would
because it's
say-
made of Electrope, I think. But I agree. I don't know.
I would think it's not because it's a shard, so it's just naturally less dense in general.
I
Yeah.
think Crystal Tower is special because it's made out of just pure fucking ether. It's just crystals.
Yeah, that's true. Well, we don't know, but this is a very good. I mean, it's a good theory. There's a lot of questions.
There are a lot of
I question the connection of Arcanima between Allag and Aloello just because there's been no confirmed connection between the two. Allagan summoning is never referred to as Arcanima in the same way that Scholar summoning is, which is another there's just like a terminology difference between the two that I've observed. There's not to say that they're not connected, but there's never been any drawn connection, which is why I've always had an issue with like how Arcanist more directly leads to Summoner than Scholar, even though the lore more suggests the other.
Yeah.
Well, whatever this portal is, always remember it's next to the dead baby cave.
Right.
That's so true.
That's true.
You gotta fight.
Well, the other confusing thing about the portal is because obviously they had to build it on their side. How did another half of it end on our side? Did it just manifest itself in our?
I don't know. Maybe like
shard.
You gotta shoot the portal out and then hope someone opens it, and then you can go through.
Yeah.
It could be like
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Well, I mean, we have void gates that exist, and they are portals to the void.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to sort of. There doesn't seem to be any way of choosing where they connect, although it seems very fortuitous that they always connect to the correct place.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe when they made the portal,
well, we know
they went into the ethereal sea, much like in Minecraft, you go into the Nether, and then it's like multiplies the number of blocks you move. So they just ended up in the source.
Oh.
I mean, to be honest, Miller, I was thinking exactly of Nether portals as well.
Right? Yeah.
The thing is, we know that like the like etheric space between our shard and whatever the ninth seemingly is weaker in Yasalani, because that's what allowed the Yokhoi to have those dreams, because they were they were seeing visions of another shard that they didn't have access to.
Yeah.
It's all very confusing as to how these sort of etheric densities work. Like, what's the significant? Like, Silvertear Lake was super significant early on in the game.
Yeah.
Because it's so dense, but now Yasulani is very significant here because of the rift between those two shards is that its closest or weakest point. It's very unusual how it works.
Yeah.
I think that's something they can build off in the future, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're keeping that kind of stuff in their back pocket.
Yeah. For sure.
I like how they kept the Unity Tower there forever. Like that was.
Yeah.
They stayed there for a long time.
True.
You could only go into Omphalos, whatever it's called, on Crystal, on the lake.
Yeah.
Into the Phantom Realm. So that's a similar example, but that's not a shard. It's
an illusion. I
don't know where Omphalos sits in reality. It's
a veil.
They'll never expand on that.
I don't remember how they explain the Phantom Realm, but it's something else. It's just don't think about it too much.
I also wonder about the connection between the Yokhoi constructs in Tender Valley and the ones that are in the Skydeep Cenote. Like, are they the same technology? Did one lead to the other, or are they completely separate?
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of questions.
Why did the ones that leave home find the Great Serpent?
I'm assuming a lot of this has been left vague on purpose so that we can pick it up now in the patch stories. That's all I can think of.
We need loose storylines at this point.
Because there's no other, like, the MSQ is sort of done. So it makes sense now that all the questions we have are like these other things, and that's what we're going to pick up on in the patch stories, I think. So we'll see.
Like Aroma Born again or something. There was so much random shit in Aroma Born that never got answered, and
that's
it did
true.
in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
My main worry is that I feel like we might not get that much of this in 7.1 because I feel like the political stuff is a higher priority.
Yeah. That's true.
They want you to forget about it, though.
I mean, yeah,
because like it feels more like wow, they were thinking about it all that time.
Yeah,
because I just think the fact that there's the political instability in Solution 9 or Alexandria is just something that can't be ignored.
But there's probably going to be obviously the A plot, but there always is like minor.
There is always a
B-plot.
B plot.
Yeah.
But
So
look
The
Can't be
Lord
related
guy is
to-
a king worthy of the throne, and he will rule with a soft.
okay, let's
fleshy
not
hand.
derail into that discussion again. We've already had that. But yeah, what were you going to say, Georgi?
I was just gonna say, will the B plot just be related to like the unrest of the animals in Shaloni as well? Because that's
Oh,
another thing
yeah.
they've set
Oh
up.
yeah.
I wouldn't mind a story about that. Yeah.
And like, there's
Why is
there's the
that
fact
happening?
the thing that sticks to me is that like the son of the
Oh yeah.
the Catboy leader
Yeah.
The chief.
in Shaloni.
Yeah.
He has a unique faceplate. Why would they design that if he's not going to be important? That's so.
I think he is going to
That's
be
such a
important.
that's such a strange amount of detail to put into a character that appears for like all of 1 or 2 quests at most.
Yeah, because there's
He
only like
100% wants to leave and explore the world, and he may
does.
help. He may join us, and we will like take him around.
he's the new
It
Scion.
may end up being. Well, yeah, he could be.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that.
No. So yeah, there you go. Sorry, Tristan, we went off a little here, but yeah, we'll have to wait and
It's a
see.
good
But
theory.
I think it's
It's
a
a
good
cool
theory.
theory.
Yeah, I definitely
I want-
think, unless they have literally just like they couldn't come up with a better design for a portal than already existing Allag. Like I'm talking outside of the like actually game design. They're like just
Yeah,
reuse some
yeah.
assets.
Yeah.
They won't
Repaint
mind.
They do that a lot.
But I think using Allagan is such a that's such a distinct, recognizable style that it'd be very
It's
strange.
not elegant. It's simply disrespectful.
It kind of is a little. That's weird to me, but we'll see.
I mean, there's a part of me that also thinks maybe they made it look like that so Alizé can have the one throwaway line that is just like, it's not Allagan's again, is it?
Well, that would be.
I mean, I
God,
agree that's frustrating, but like, I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Yeah,
God, that
I am
line is like.
intrigued.
yeah. Sorry, who?
Well, I'll go. Sure, why not? That line Georgi said, like the help text. At least I'm pretty sure it was a help text, right? Like you think
No,
it
she
was-
sa's it out loud. It's voiced.
Oh, it is. Okay, well, never mind then.
Yeah. Okay. So there you go. That's that. Thank you, Tristan. We don't have time for more MogMail right now. We need to move on to the main story. We have 2 interviews today with Yoshi-P. One is by Eurogamer and the other's from PC Gamer. We're going to
Many
read through
gamers.
these. We have to go through these interviews because they are directly linked to what we've discussed before, and that's Dawntrail's reception in the community. I'll start reading the interview before we start talking about it, I think. Okay. Naoki Yoshida on Dawntrail criticism, community feedback, and the future of Final Fantasy XIV. When Dawntrail, the latest expansion for MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV, was released back in June, it marked the start of a new story arc. After a decade of growing popularity across multiple expansions telling a singular narrative, Dawntrail brought players to a brand new world with new characters and a fresh graphical update. It was met with a somewhat mixed reaction. While the visuals and music are as gorgeous as ever, the storytelling was criticized by some for being meandering, with its shallow first half and many of its familiar characters, the Scions, are given considerably less screen time. Yet Final Fantasy XIV remains a spectacularly popular game, its players always eager for new content. Naoki Yoshida, the game's producer and director, is a beloved figure in the game's community and, through live streams and FanFest events, is in direct communication with players. So when I had the chance to speak with Yoshida at this year's Gamescom, I took the opportunity to ask about Dawntrail criticisms, community feedback, and what could be next in Final Fantasy XIV's extensive story. I want to start by discussing Dawntrail and some of the criticisms from reviews, including a slightly slower story, it being a game of 2 halves, and some of the Scions not quite getting enough screen time. How much of that do you listen to? And how much will that impact future expansions? It's an interesting question. So here's Yoshida's answer. With the new expansion, specifically regarding the first half of the story, we did receive feedback saying the tempo wasn't good and it could have been sped up a little more. But considering this was a new adventure that we were going on and we were journeying into a new land, we were meeting new people and we were coming into contact with new cultures, we went through a process of making sure to create and showcase these aspects in a very attentive way. For us in the development team, the story did progress as we planned. The key things we had in mind for this adventure were for the player to know about where they are going, for them to learn things about where they're going, and for them to discover things where they're going as part of the adventure. But as a result of that, we did receive feedback that the tempo was slow, and I do understand that some players were frustrated. Looking back on it, we could have perhaps spread some of those elements, which were incorporated in the main scenario. We could have diverted them to side quests. In this regard, it is a little bit similar to 2.0.
That's true.
That's fair
I
understanding.
Yeah.
It's a difficult. It's a risk either way though, because if you go too quickly, then you run the risk of people not understanding exactly what's going on and saying, you know, you really skimmed over this thing. I didn't really understand what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think the best point of comparison would probably be Shadowbringers, where like we are going to a whole new world, and I feel like people at the time did not feel like they were being like beaten over the head with all of the aspects of the new world that they were visiting.
Yeah,
True.
Shadowbringers had so much interesting lore, and I think some of it could have really been expanded on more, but
I agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
we didn't get that, and I think I don't know. I wouldn't have wanted it to be much longer, Shadowbringers, but I do wish it had a bit more of this style of taking time to explain some of the history as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the absolute strength of Shadowbringers, which I don't think they have enough credit for this part specifically, is the help text. I'm a big champion of it. I love quest help text in the journal, in the actual little quest blurb thing, and talking to NPCs, because you can get so much good shit there. And everyone always talks about every Emmett conversation in Shadowbringers, which are all amazing, of course, but there's always a lot of really good stuff from other NPCs too.
Yeah.
I think for DT, they probably could have moved some stuff into those like quest help text spots. Because there's kind of nothing there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's some okay help text or whatever, but it's lacking. I felt a big lack of it.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the issues is that because of how they chose to frame the story, the two of the people that you think would be able to provide the most insight into the world that we're now entering, Wuklamut and Kona, are seemingly kind of ignorant of it at the same time, which I feel like it's a kind of weird balance for them to hit.
Yeah. It feels like there was so much they wanted to tell in this story, and there's a lot of side quests as well in the world, in addition to the MSP.
There are in previous expansions, though.
That's true. I saw that, but it's a lot. There's just a lot. I mean, I don't know.
I still agree with the pacing thing. Honestly, I'm still so surprised people came out saying that after I was just playing it and not talking to anyone for weeks. I was like, I did
notice. I know. I think
I've said this before. I think the first part is too long, and I feel like there should have been more spent on the second half.
We've been through this. Right? We've already covered this. We're not going to go over it again.
Oh yeah.
But Yoshi-P is acknowledging that this is a little similar to 2.0. So.
That's also a thing too. Like, you do have people that do really like how some of 2.0 is kind of the area exploration and how it's talked about in game. You know, like, I don't know if you. I think it's crazy to see now, but you are seeing like a Realm Reborn nostalgia goggles coming on. Yeah. Now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not saying I agree or disagree with it, but it's crazy to see some of it come out.
That is the same as the 1.0 rose-tinted glasses people. That's the same shit. It's just people want what they had before. That's just how it is.
It was good though. A Realm Reborn was good.
However, we're moving on.
Rose-tinted glasses wearer.
A Realm Reborn was okay. It was good for what it was
A
at the
Realm Reborn
time.
was good at the time.
Yeah.
It's just in
Yeah.
retrospect, it feels long.
Yes.
And
Oh yeah, it was
sluggish.
long. It was sluggish.
Yeah.
I'll still forever say it's not a bad 14 expansion at all.
It was good.
I don't think any of us would say. I think none of us would say
None
that any
of us.
14 expansion is bad.
None of us.
It is on the weaker side in my humble onion, but we've been
Yes.
on. Ask me in 6 months. However, when things become more complicated later in the story, if we haven't gone through that process of ensuring the player knows about the world they are in, they won't really know what's going on. So on the one hand, there were players who appreciated being able to learn in detail about everything in advance. On the other hand, there was another group of players who just wanted to progress at a faster pace. And I completely understand where they're coming from as well. So once again, we could have diverted some of those aspects to the side quests. So for players who were interested in learning more, they could just go and do the side quests. However, this is one learning we've taken on, and we would like to make the best of this moving forward in our development. With regards to the Scions playing a more active role only later on in the story, truth be told, this is something I intentionally wanted to try out. I do understand there are people who always want the Scions to be at the center of the story. But at the same time, there are people who are also requesting something new instead. So it was a conscious effort on my part to experiment and see how the balance would play out. We're really at the limits. I mean, okay, yeah, so...
I like that he tried this, and I also... I think the issue here was that maybe should have been a Scion-less expansion, for more or less.
I don't think it should have been a Scion-less expansion, but I think that we didn't need all of them to be there.
We didn't need all of them. That's the thing. Like it felt a lot of them were tacked on, and the reason you think that they didn't have enough screen time was because they were basically superfluous, but they felt a need to, make Y'shtola walk in and go, I found a solution.
See, I think Y'shtola is one of the people that's required to the story, even though she doesn't necessarily have like a lot of characterization.
I agree. She's like the one person that makes sense because she is into the void travel. Like she's been researching that. That's her field.
I think the three Scions that needed to be involved were Kryl, Y'shtola, and Graha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And those are the only ones that really have any real influence on the story.
Just chilling and wandering around, and Thanka and Nurian are just fighting for the opponent for some reason.
But the thing is, I think Alphino, especially Alphino, maybe not as much Alizé, I think Alphino could have had influence on the story because I think his arc of being a leader is something that could have been useful to Orklamat's development.
Right about that, doesn't it?
No, he doesn't. Not to Orklamat.
No.
Not to Orklamat, but I feel like he did say maybe there's like an extra text or something. I don't know.
He's just in having wanderlust and wander. Yeah, he should be out helping the Guardians. They really did tackle on a lot of them. So I feel like I think Yoshi-P should have gone harder on it.
Yeah.
In my ideal DT, I would have had 2 Scions at most.
Yeah.
And Justinian doesn't count because he's just fucking around having a good time.
Right.
There could be people who are traveling through the world that you cross paths with, and it's like, yeah, that's cool. Like, maybe it would have been fun if, Hancock had appeared at the ports. Like, oh, hey, I'm here doing some trading. Yeah, random shit like that. But having them, feel central to the story, but basically be off screen for most of it, that was a little weird.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. We're really at the limits. So here he continues. We're really at the limits of what we can do in terms of showcasing the Scions to the fullest in the story. If we wanted to have them all stand out as key parts of the cast in a new expansion, and to be part of that one story, it's an extremely difficult process. I think moving forward, we would have to consider certain situations. For example, maybe only half of the Scions appear in the story, or maybe there would be a story where only Alphino and Alizé play a part. Unfortunately, we have to take this approach, otherwise we will not be able to create a story that we would be satisfied with ourselves. On the other hand, I do understand that if we do take that approach, there will always be complaints. Some people might be saying, hey, why isn't Y'shtola there? But it's just the case that because we are at our limits, we can't always have that all-star cast. This is something that we will need to consider moving forward. I agree. I understand this because people are going to be like, why wasn't best boy insert Scion in there? Why wasn't best girl insert? You know, that's always the fucking this community.
Because sometimes it's silly to have like every single Scion go, yes, we've got this. We're moving on.
Yeah.
Whoa, it's like
See,
sometimes you can be alone.
That's why I like the part.
I need my own space. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
That's why I like the part where Y'shtola and Graha walk in, because like they walk in at the point where they become actually useful to the story.
Yeah,
they're not necessary before that, and that's why they're not in the story.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, that's. It must be exhausting to write the MSQ and knowing that you like. We have to like cram in all the Scions.
Every character to have like a part.
Yeah,
it's just too much.
Yeah.
Maybe one day they'll feel like writing Y'shtola though.
No.
Well, see.
Never.
Yeah, maybe never.
Make her say stuff that's.
Rollo, you know she has no personality.
She does though, but they just choose to not let her have it the majority of the time.
She's just got work to do. She's not got time to have a personality.
She doesn't use her personality when she's like focused on her work. That's more so for when she's having fun.
I mean, I feel like Y'shtola has had a few moments though where we get like, I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
She is the poster girl for 14, so she's had a lot of character development, like the Matoya arc in Heavensward, the Runar plotline in Shadowbringers. I mean, we did get to see some of that in there.
Yeah, Drippy.
Yeah,
whatever his name was.
Yeah,
those are like little crumbs compared to every other.
Well, you want a
Scion.
Y'shtola expansion? Is that what you want?
I mean, if they wanted to do her justice, sure, why not?
Okay. Why isn't Rollo is the one? Why isn't best girl Y'shtola in this scene?
I want to.
I feel as if Y'shtola is a fully developed character, though. Like, it's just unfortunate that her character development is kind of something that happened in the past. Yeah. So it's not necessarily something.
She's like Thancred now.
Yeah, she's like Thancred. Like, Thancred has had his character development, and there's not really much more you can add to Thancred at this point.
Yeah.
I think you'd still build off him if you want to. You know what? I think if you really wanted to build off Y'shtola right now in her current state, while referencing some of her previous development, especially some of the off-screen stuff, make her a mentor. Like, have like an apprentice of some sort, however old they are or whatever. Like, that would be a great like kind of back and forth and bouncing off point to really kind of show her character and have her in the same role that she was, that her Matoya was before. She sort of had that in Shadowbringers, sort of, when she took on her name, but I don't think it was fully explored that well.
She didn't really take on any apprentices. Not even Runar was in a play. He was just kind of a simp.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we move on. You're very close to the community, such as with FanFests and live streams. Is there a danger of listening too much to players? For instance, with recent changes to the Viper job, how do you balance doing what you want to do and also listening to the community? Whew.
Just do what you want.
Yoshida says firstly, with regards to why I keep a close distance to the community, I think that's not really an appropriate way to approach it. But rather, to me, it's really important to have a mutual understanding between both sides in this genre. Starting back with history lesson. Starting back with Ultima Online, I've played a lot of MMOs in my time, and
Grandpa's got his pipe out.
and my history as an MMORPG player is really long. So, humble brag.
I know what I'm talking about.
I know developers will release patch notes, and there is a group of players who don't read them.
A significant number.
Yeah.
Most people.
And
that is the most nerdiest shit ever, though. You gotta admit.
That's true. That's why you listen to podcasts that read them out for you. Like us. And the patch notes only explain about what has changed. So certain players will read them and be like, hey, why have they gone and nerfed my class? Why haven't they adjusted my job? Sorry, why have they adjusted my job? And I have encountered this kind of situation time and time again over the years. Of course, whichever development teams are behind those games, I believe they must really want their players to enjoy the game, and that's what's behind their motivation for updating it. However, the desire to carry out those changes and the need to carry out those changes are not accurately conveyed to the players. And consequently, amongst the player base, they have an increased sensation of frustration. Then players themselves start to suspect developers are not even playing their own game. As a result, a lot of people start dropping out of the game, and that has a negative impact on the developers. The people in charge in the development team will change, and it just continues to go downward from there. I have encountered this kind of situation again and again during my time as a player. With Final Fantasy XIV, you can look at it as our world, but to put it in another way, we can say it's our country of sorts. We need to make rules within the game so there's a sense of order, and everyone can follow those common rules. For example, with regards to battles...
See a government,
yes,
where the people, or what is this odd analogy?
This is, he's the Prime Minister of 14. For example... With regards to battles, there would be rules set out in relation to DPS, and those rules would be set forth from our side. Naturally, because we are the people who are operating the game, we need to be the ones making those rules. But players need to understand, why are those rules there? Why are things nerfed for a certain reason? They would question why those things happen, but if we, from the development and operations side, clearly explain those reasons, players might be able to understand. At the same time, it's not good that a certain job might be too strong, so then, even if players are completely satisfied, they can understand where we're coming from as well.
So it's just like tax.
Yes, yes. It's his country, and I don't know why he said it, but
I like it.
I don't know how it translates to this analogy.
The government.
He's president and prime minister, Yoshi-P, of course, because he's got two titles.
We're the citizens, but is this a one-party democracy? Well, not even a democracy, autocracy, or then we'll,
Yeah. There's many questions.
Like
what's the flag like? What is the government structure? What's the tax rate? Effective tax rate?
Is Koji Fox a minister or what? Like.
Do they use ministries or departments?
Do we have a House of Lords and Commons?
Is there an upper or lower house? Like, how is a unitary parliament? They're like, well, how does it work?
We're insufferable, Jews.
All right. It's striking that balance, which is really important, and I think it's having the players understand our intentions. That's what I mean when I say a mutual understanding, so they can understand the reasons why we're making those rules. By going through this process of communication, we can also see the aspects they enjoy. On the development side, we can get a glimpse into what could be adjusted to ensure they're happy as well. That is the main motivation and the main reason why I have a policy of communicating so much to the players. So that's a classic Yoshi-P answer. I think he's said some of this before, so this is like a common thing for him to say.
I mean, I'm all for what he's saying. It's good that they communicate this. This is why we like this game so much.
Yes, it's true.
You didn't say how much about the fan feedback part, but I would say, I hope, and I would say this to most developers too.
We're going to get to the Viper
feedback thing next.
Yeah, we're going to get to it. So
this question is not over.
It's a long Yoshi-P answer.
He's only given you the prelude.
Yeah. It's warmed you up
for chapter 1.
All right. With regards to the changes for Viper, we had adjusted right until the last minute, and we did have in mind the possibility that some players might provide feedback that it was too busy to play, which again I think is strange.
So they made up a guy to balance.
We did release the job in that state, and then we found a lot of players say it was very busy to play, to the extent that they were not able to see mechanics.
Where are these lots of people? Because I feel like I haven't seen them.
No.
I mean, there were issues with Viper.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. It wasn't that bad, but there were some issues that you could have changed in a minor way, but it seems the appeal and the sell was a fast busyness. So what? Yeah,
I
don't know.
It's mysterious.
It felt more completed than Pictomancer though, in a way. Like Pictomancer feels very unusual in that you'd expect it to have lots of different painting options for like each of the canvases, but really it only has one path for them all. It can only produce a hammer.
I think it's just kind of like such a weird and unique job in terms of...
exactly. It's going to get expanded for sure, but it's like... It seems unusual that this is the height of Pictomancy, is that we can make a hammer. But whereas Viper felt like a full rotation.
We can make a hammer.
I just think Viper is like traditional, what we think of as 14 job balance for the most part, and play style more refined. Whereas Pictomancer was definitely the more exploratory, trying something new and fresh kind of thing.
The DPS meter.
Yeah. Okay, the battle team, right until the last minute, were considering whether to make any adjustments to the job. The battle director actually consulted with me because he was quite torn about whether they should go through with an adjustment or not. We announced that we were considering making adjustments to the job, but the response to that was a lot of feedback from players who had already reached the level cap and were already used to playing with the job. And they were happy with the way it played. However, we had already identified some actions which would inevitably be a cause of stress for players. Eventually, we just went through with adjusting what we had initially planned, and that was unrelated to the community feedback. However, I believe probably there was some misunderstanding on the community's part. I do remember on social media, especially in North America and in Europe, some people were saying,
America #1.
some people were saying, hey, Yoshida, you're listening too much to community feedback. But that was only a little bit, so really, you don't need to worry.
Oh,
Yeah, well, the impression I get from this answer is that they were unsure about this change to begin with, and that they were flip-flopping between making it before the expansion regardless.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I think Viper right now plays really nicely anyway. Like, it's still fun. I like the way it's a continuous rotation rather than a 1 2 3 1 2 3 repeat. It always feels like you're just spamming through to the next thing. It's like, whoa, yeah, bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
I like Viper. It's fine.
Okay, he talks about communication. I think in general he's very good about it, and in particular this part of Square Enix. But there's just some cases where you see something that, especially in the they make those job adjustment posts on the Lodestone.
Yeah.
And they'll have like explanations like this is what we're doing to tanks, this is what we're doing, whatever. When you read the Viper one, I know he said he didn't take player feedback in mind.
Yeah.
But if you read the Lodestone post, it says planned Viper adjustments. Newly released in Patch 7.0, we received feedback pertaining to the busyness of the skill rotation.
Yeah.
And I guess
he says, you're listening too much to community feedback, but that was only a little bit. So he is saying that there was, I mean, the community...
He did acknowledge it.
He did acknowledge that this was community...
I think they thought
they had made a straw man. They'd made a straw man while they were designing the job. Someone's going to complain it's too busy. They prepared the changes. Then some of that, I think some of that feedback came in. It might not have been a lot, but then someone probably went, "See, there it is.
Yeah.
It is. Push the fucking update," and the update went out. That's what I think happened. So
it's just, they made it like a self-fulfilling prophecy, which I know I'm joking when I say they made up a guy to balance around.
Yeah.
Which if you're a good developer, that's actually what you do.
Yeah.
I guess you have to be in the mindset of different players.
Yes.
But in this case, it feels like you should have just made the change, and you could have just communicated saying, "Hey, this is like the course we wanted to take with Viper."
Mm-hmm.
Adding in the part saying, and again, this is from the Lodestone that says that. It's like, oh, we received player feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, of course the community is going to go crazy about that. You know, like, oh, what do you mean? Which just came out. You guys are ruining, you know.
Yeah. This is it's very strange because this is the thing that happened to Viper happened after the media tour, when he specifically said that they were going to stop worrying so much about community feedback when they were designing things, and this happens immediately after launch. It's very mixed signals, I think.
But I think
I
they misspoke on that part.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the minor communication hard points. They're usually pretty good about it in general, I would say.
Yes.
It's just, but I would have hoped that they would have let it go into Savage at the least.
Yes.
Like some of the Viper stuff. That would have been a better than extremes and dungeons or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it originally had one of my least favorite mechanics, which is put dot on monster, so you do more damage. to
No.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a dodge.
No,
It's a debuff.
Damn that.
Debuff. It's a debuff.
It's a damage drop.
Debuff on monsters.
I like-
I hate that.
I
so
like
much.
that. I like that you have to maintain something. I
Mm.
liked that you had to maintain something.
I
to
don't
maintain
mind it
damage.
in some respects, but having
It
it
was
as a buff
one
that
thing.
having a buff on you is better than having a debuff on an enemy,
Yeah.
because now you have to apply it to everything
Yes.
to maintain.
Well, that's why you were only supposed to. That's why it's not something you worry about as much when you're not fighting a boss. It's not as important to maintain when you're doing group mobs.
Right.
I mean, again, there were issues with Viper. It should have been easier to get to the debuff attack because you still had to go through kind of
It was a lot, yeah.
the chain, and then the timers were off as well. They made it weird.
Yeah.
It was
But
quite a confusing job when you get presented with like 20 abilities that you can't assign to a hotbar that you have to try and understand the rotation. It was a very
That's fair.
That Viper tutorial quest, fucking useless. That did not teach me anything.
No.
Like, I don't know if you felt it when you did like the quest line to like, this is how you play Viper. Do this little instance. I was like, what does any of this mean? Like, they did
Yeah.
so well with Red Mage.
Yeah.
They did amazing with Pictomancer.
yeah.
Mhm.
Pixels
And
are
it's like,
good.
and Sage is great too. And you go to this one, it's like all you got to tell you is like, look at the UI element. There's a left button and a right button.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then in a OGCD in between.
Yeah.
All you got to do.
Yeah.
A lot of
I mean-
ways to say the simplest shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be fully honest with you, Rollo. I'm level 100 Viper and I've not yet done that quest.
Oh, of course.
Well, that probably
It
doesn't
would have
help.
helped you anyway.
You
That
are.
would have helped me.
Well, that's also true.
That's fair. Okay, we have to move on.
It's
We're running out of
nice.
time. With each expansion, the game has grown massively. There are new characters, new areas, new jobs. Do you foresee a point where it's too big and unwieldy, and how are you aiming to avoid that? Yoshida says, the fact that players would not be able to complete all content as an MMO player myself, I know the greed. In Final Fantasy XIV, we have a lot of different content. Players can enjoy the game in a lot of different ways. There are many housing enthusiasts who are completely indifferent to ultimate raids, so it doesn't matter to them. To them whether the ultimate raids
Europeans.
are there or not. Yeah. On the other hand, we do have hardcore battle players, so they are super interested and invested in the ultimate
Japanese.
raids. But they might not necessarily be so interested in housing.
Oh.
And again, we have a group of players really interested in fishing.
Hell yeah.
Those
My
people
retirement plan.
those people who are really hardcore ultimate raiders, they probably want to get an ultimate raid in every patch update. And the people who are really into their housing probably want more types of housing with every patch. They want bigger plots. They want more possibilities for customizing their
Oh,
house.
it's endless with them.
I
yeah.
don't think there's going to be people who say, oh no, we don't want any more content. They wouldn't say that. For me,
Can I just say,
yeah.
he's just fucking thrown out the idea of bigger plots, which has
Yeah.
never been a
Why would you
possibility
say
in the
that?
past. I don't know why he would mention that.
Oh no! You
Oh,
said
boy.
something that people
Here
will hold.
we go.
They're gonna hold you to it.
New sizes.
Ultimate Raiders, or just basically, it'd be nice to have another raid soon. But housing players are. I run my capacity constantly, Yoshi-P. More, this,
Yeah.
more this. They're the real. Crazy
Well, to be fair, it is time to increase the housing slots. You promised, Yoshi-P. You
Oh
promised.
my god! See what
Make my number go up.
Yeah.
I like that he's presenting these as if they're as people that enjoy housing and people that enjoy ultimate raids are two circles on a Venn diagram that never meet.
I think,
But I
Yeah.
don't think that's true.
I think the overlap's minuscule.
Right.
Oh, I think there's more overlap than people think. Honestly,
I think a lot of raiders like housing. It
Yeah,
might not be
that's-
the other way around though.
That's true. Okay, for real. For me,
For me,
the ideal for an MMO is to have so much volume of content that you cannot actually play through it all. Because what I have in mind is that you would log into the game and you would just think to yourself, what should I do today? Should I do this or should I do that? There's so much volume there that you can just consider, like you would in real life, what you want to do based on your mood. You want to continue to expand the game, continue to create new content, and also continue to maintain our older content so that it's always relevant for people who want to try it out. I think doing this is necessary to continue as an MMO.
It's an incredibly amusing statement for a man who makes a game where the entirety of each patch content is completed the day it's released.
That's not true.
for almost the
No.
for the majority of the
You need
content
to get
is
your tomes.
over.
You need to get. You need to gear up. You need to do your raids. You need there's a lot of things to do.
Also, you need to think about it from the perspective of like a newer player or a progressing player.
Oh,
Yeah.
new players
There
have
is-
loads of-
I wouldn't even know where to fucking begin. It would drive me crazy if I knew everything.
14
Like,
would be
what
so
the
overwhelming for a new player.
fuck? Yeah.
And there are things like Island Sanctuary Society quests, custom deliveries that you can't complete on launch
Yeah.
of a patch.
That's
Chloe
true.
books.
No, there's shit to do,
Yeah.
but like in terms of new content on like a standard patch, you know this.
Well, you
community
can't
used-
make
used
new
up the game.
content that lasts forever.
Story content that lasts forever is almost impossible.
Oh no, story content, yeah, but that's what he wants it. He's saying we need to have it so there's just endless stuff to do.
Because some
That's
people.
why we're having AI stories generated in 14
Oh
now.
yes,
Radiant quests in 14 that are all AI generated.
That would be the
Go to
only
this
way.
cave.
We would need to have like a patch every day with content to keep
every single
those
day
people
it's
satiated.
pirates are invading from Sestasha.
Yeah, the world would be a fucking nightmare.
Somebody.
In terms of the game's story, we're in the source, and we've been to a couple of reflections, like the Void and the World of Light. Can we expect to go through all of them and all of the elements over time? Oh, Yoshi-P says, it might be possible, but on the other hand, it might not be possible. Okay. All right. 50-50 on that one. Possibly, we would be going down the route of a multi-universe, so things involved in parallel worlds. Oh, you love that, Mela. That's your favorite. Every time there's a parallel story, universe story in Star Trek, Mela his mood just shifts. He hates that.
Depends how they do it. There's
yeah.
some good ones and some bad ones.
But Mela, you know that Mela's already like he's ready to judge this episode immediately. He's like, "Oh yeah, so you look like that now, huh? In this world? Oh yeah, I see."
Evil mustache, huh?
Yeah. If we were to give you a hint that we would be going to all the reflections in the next expansions, and let's say we've already been to Reflection A, so people would know we will be going to Reflection B or C next. There wouldn't really be a sense of excitement. We want to ensure that we keep that excitement, so that's why we don't really go into specifics. Oh, and I forgot. Also, one additional element: there is still the past and the future.
This answer I didn't like.
I really don't want to limit the possibilities of what could happen, because we really do want to keep our players excited and thinking about what will happen next. And I'm a little bit of a jokester myself, so I do hope that you'll look forward to what might come. Traveling,
Sorry,
that's
no, we're
giving me
having it. Oh
11
my God.
flashbacks. 11
Can you
had
imagine, Luke, are you looking forward to Final Fantasy 8.0 Return to Allag, where we travel
Right.
back in time to the height of the Allagan Empire?
I mean, I think it's a cool idea to like see
It could
Eorzea
work.
as it was.
You
really
get
could
one.
work.
You get
Yeah,
one.
you get one. We can
Yeah,
do
you
it
get one,
once.
You can do
will-
War of the Magi or like peak Allag.
Yeah,
Not both.
Yeah.
yeah.
You say that as if we haven't traveled in time multiple times already at this point.
No,
or
I
had
mean, like-
storylines involving time travel.
I mean an expansion that's dedicated to that.
I mean, we're talking about like
If it's
maps
Eorzea, it has to
of
be
like
Eorzea.
Lenosha, Thanalan,
Yeah.
like, and they're all
The full Eorzea.
Allag era.
but,
So
yeah.
that would be cool.
I agree with that.
Cool.
I
I wouldn't be against, after fucking super turbo sci-fi laser soldiers, I'm up for that.
Yeah.
To be honest,
like
I'd
maybe
rather that.
in Thanalan, maybe we could see like Belladaya. Like
It'd be so cool.
there's a lot of things they can do with time travel.
And
we have
we
a
could
lot of
meet-
history.
We could like encounter, like Van Daniel as he was, and
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
there's
and
so
if we're in
much shit we
Allag.
could do.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be wicked.
If you want to continue the theme of what we're doing for this episode, you might want to skip the final question from the Eurogamer interview and move to the
Yeah,
next
there's a question
because
about
there's not much there.
Xbox and the Japanese market.
we don't care
We
about
don't need
the
to talk about that. We're going to stay on track.
Xbox.
So now we're on the PC Gamer one. The headline is Final Fantasy XIV's Yoshi-P says, if the question is whether I was shocked by the mixed reception to Dawntrail's story, the answer is no, not really. Final Fantasy XIV Dawntrail has had some time to simmer in the minds of its fan base, and while I've had a blast with everything outside of it, the main scenario questline has left me a little less enthusiastic than usual. The issues it has, though, are complex ones. Dawntrail's story is one of those pesky mixed bags that gets stuck in my craw.
Pesky bags.
It's full of great ideas with some really fun moments, but its plot, beats, and dialogue are both executed in ways so messy they nearly spoil the whole exercise. Ultimately, Dawntrail suffers from a bumpy script and an inability to properly prioritize its cast, which is a shame. I recently went to Gamescom and I got to speak with the game's director, Naoki Yoshida, in person. I asked how he felt about the fanbase's response, in slightly more diplomatic terms, and he seemed quite reflective of the story's successes and failings. As is typically the case with these interviews, Yoshi-P's response were translated on the spot by an interpreter. This is his response. This being a game, it's a form of entertainment, and you'll always see some form of mixed response to entertainment, Yoshi-P begins. A second factor is that with Endwalker, we reached a big climax to a long-standing, spanning story. To a certain extent, I had already predicted that we would have some sort of mixed response this time. So if the question is whether I was shocked in a big way, the answer is no, not really. It's interesting to hear that Yoshi-P was expecting some kind of conflicted response, and entirely fair considering the sheer weight of expectation that old-timers like Shadowbringers and Endwalker had placed upon its shoulders. The way Yoshi-P tells it, however, the main bugbear through Dawntrail's development appears to have been pacing. The concept was journeying to a new land. We would be going to a new continent where we'd be seeing new cultures, new races, and characters. Because of that, both in the development team and also from my side, we had this concept in mind in terms of cleanly and very attentively introducing these new aspects to the player. However, Yoshi-P notes that while there were plenty of people who enjoyed the new horizon, others found the pacing to be less than optimal. Yoshi-P says there were some people who thought that some of the tempo in the main scenario was slow, and they wanted to get through to more thrilling parts of the plot at a faster pace. He then goes on to admit that there were some story beats that the team could have diverted to the side quests. We've heard this before, so if anyone is interested in learning more about them, they could just play the side quests at their own time and enjoy it at their own pace. We did see feedback from people who wanted to tackle the battle content faster, so because we saw that type of feedback, we will take that on board as a learning process and experience. Yoshi-P also commented on the mixed feedback regarding Wuklemat. We've said it, the comment section is hereby cursed.
God damn.
While she's become a scapegoat for everything wrong with Dawntrail's story in the eyes of fans, my general opinion is that she's fine, but a walking bag of symptoms for its other shortcomings. She's a representation of the difficulty Dawntrail has prioritizing its characters, in that she takes the center stage while other characters like Kryl, Erinville, and the Scions suffer. For Yoshi-P, one of the issues he's observed from the community was the character's initial difficulties in fulfilling the role of prospective Dawn Servant, which typically manifested in bouts of seasickness and a spotty knowledge of her people's culture outside of her home city of Toral. We depicted Wuklemat as someone who had a bit of a complex towards her parents and also towards her siblings, and because of that lack of confidence, I think that also contributed to the slow pace and the feeling of frustration. If we had maybe portrayed her as more of a confident character, maybe we would have not encountered that kind of situation. So in that regard, I feel that we did something quite bad for Wuklemat as a character. And taking on this experience, it made me realize that it's important to consider those things when it comes to showcasing the character to the players.
Okay, I don't think we need to read the last part. Parents, yeah, parents was an interesting term. I guess.
Well, maybe they're talking about the.
Yeah, maybe they're talking about the other guy in Yakatel
and
as
his
well.
foster mom too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind that she's not confident at the start. There are just issues that I feel like she has that I feel like shouldn't have been an issue based on how her character is, how she's characterized. Like, I feel like she should have known more about the regions, at least more than she seems to throughout the story.
Yeah.
Considering she's like a princess kind of thing, kept in the castle sort of thing, but she doesn't feel like she is.
Yeah, but she claims to be the princess of the people as well.
Yeah.
And like people always talk about how she's so relatable, and yet there are aspects of that seem contradicted by the story.
Well, that I'm of two minds of that, because I do somewhat agree that she'd have maybe a little bit more knowledge of at least nothing past shock to Rally, which that's far away. Sure, we can say that's maybe just whatever's close by, but at the same time, that's driving the plot. Is her learning like she's supposed to be
maybe
learning.
That's not necessarily what should have been driving the plot.
I think it's a good way to drive the plot, though.
I think it's a good way to drive the plot, but maybe she could have been teaching us about it as well, rather than us seemingly learning everything at the same time as her.
That feels more unusual, though. Like, here's my, these are these funny people who live here in my land. I'll tell you about them. But learning about like the Pelu Pelu from the Pelu Pelu in tandem with her, it felt more natural and like an experience for both of us.
Yeah,
felt that we got stuff. I don't know. I enjoyed.
I'm just tired of.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
I know. I'm fatigued, mentally fatigued about these.
It felt like a year or two ago that this would be a make or break expansion, and it turns out it was for a lot of people.
Apparently.
What I've found interesting. Let's not. I don't want to start this again, but like,
we'll try not to.
What's interesting is like, right now, there are people that are just like, that's their personality now, is to hate Dawntrail.
Yeah, exactly.
It's can't shut up about it. It's like, okay, dude, it's fine.
Okay, well, if we're gonna talk about that, then I will say to those people specifically.
Okay. God. Okay.
No, I'm not
noting the time code, preparing to cut.
No.
No. He's
go on. Every time Roller goes, I'm just gonna say, it's 50-50 what's coming out. All right.
Hey, I'd be spitting sometimes. Okay, so
sometimes
I think my issue with a lot of the people that say that kind of stuff, right? I'm not saying you're wrong or right for saying that or thinking like that, but when I see those criticisms that they say, I wonder what you've been playing the entire time. It feels like more you have issues with 14 as a whole, and Dawntrail is like some weird catalyst for you, in that you can only kind of link the two together, like people say voice acting, right? Like, especially with Clement. Well, aside from all the terrible shit that people say for whatever, why. We've consistently talked about 14's voice acting being off, like occasionally, right?
Well, no, not consistently. I would say since about patch maybe 6.4.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it though for Shadowbringers a couple times, and it's not always every patch too.
Yeah, COVID times.
Yeah, COVID times. Yeah.
And it's same thing with like the quest structure. It's like, oh well, I want to be doing this and that, and all this, and I'm like, well, this is kind of the pace that the game's always had.
Well,
for the most part.
I think at a certain point it reaches it. After a certain amount of time, it hits a breaking point, and maybe for these people, this is that breaking point, and maybe because it's happening now, they might be conflating issues in their mind together, such that like issues they had with the story are being related to issues they have with the pacing. But it's because it's happening now. It's just like it's all coming out as one.
Yeah,
that's understandable.
And that's the issues. I don't feel like it's being articulated and getting to the actual point of why those people don't like it, which I think for those reasons are valid. I would say if that's not your speed or whatever. But again, I feel like this is just another expansion. It's in line with everything else before.
Well, I think the problem with that is this needed to be more than just another expansion, because it is starting a new storyline.
There are no way
it was going to be a new Shadowbringers though. There was no way.
There was not going to be. It was not going to top what came before.
This game is Formula City, and it annoys me sometimes too. But every patch you know what you're getting in the formula, and I can understand how that gets tiresome over a long period of time.
I think every MMO player reaches that point where they're like, see the cracks.
It's natural.
To me, it happened around right before it happened quite early for me. It happened like before Stormblood launched. Mela, you probably remember that. I had like a crisis of, whether I didn't know. It just, you suddenly see it as it is. It's like, oh, this is just endless and it's always going to be the same. But that's just how MMOs are. And then you get over that crisis and it's over. But I think a lot of people are having that crisis now because this made the cracks more obvious, I think.
That's so late though. How did you get to this
remember,
point?
there are a lot of people.
Not everyone
started with their own.
A lot of people started with Shadowbringers or Endwalker. That's
I'm saying
spikes in.
I'm saying even getting through all that, like that's.
Well, you have content, loads and loads of content.
Rollo. Yeah. When you join an MMO and you love it, remember, like when I first played 14, I was playing it a lot, and also when I rejoined 14 on Mailer, I was playing this game like fucking 12 hours a day, 16 hours. I was loving it.
Yeah.
Life was good because I was unemployed, but it was fucking amazing. I was playing so much.
Real.
And I was consuming. But once you hit the end and you start getting on that treadmill, and you get into the patch cycle, it's very easy to become sort of
jaded.
But
Absolutely.
I don't know. Like I just.
Well, like people, it happens, Rollo. It definitely happens.
Well, no, like,
I've been there.
I'm not saying I haven't had that feeling. Right? I've definitely had the realization of like 14 is going to evolve, and it'll evolve in some way, and not change in others. Right?
It will.
Like and I accepted that like in Heavensward, basically. Like when patch 3.2 came out, I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Like the Endwalker patch cycle was not particularly enthralling.
No.
Well,
and
again, I think that's just because we were doing it at launch. I think that's why it felt.
Which is but that's the thing though. When you're doing it as the game is released, that's when the issues happen.
Yeah,
and this is not an issue for people that are playing it all at once. That's the thing. We're talking about two different player bases at the moment.
Yeah, because you see the people that hate this the most are people that have played the game
for a long time,
for a while,
and patch by patch, expansion by expansion.
I have also seen people that started with Shadowbringers, and I think those people are the ones that are going through that crisis that I went through, where they're like they're seeing the cracks for the first time.
That's how I feel about it as well. And this is particularly a criticism that I've seen come from the Japanese fan base, or at least translated to us by people in the English community. So they might have a agenda with what they choose to translate. Is that like apparently a thing amongst the Japanese fan base is that they like storylines that focus on the player character, which is probably why they like Shadowbringers and Endwalker so much, and might be what is influencing their dislike of this expansion, or at least their liking less of this expansion.
Yeah.
Really? That's such a strange. I mean, I know we hear that in English from those communities, or sorry, Western speaking, whatever. But I feel like it's a minority here.
I mean, Rollo, think of how many self-insert games in Japan are really popular, and like the self-inserts end up being amongst the most popular of characters, despite their lack of personality.
Yeah.
You like to imagine yourself.
I mean, that has also been a common criticism from Western game journal, like reviews as well. It's like it's weird that it suddenly seems to shift from their player character.
Like, it's very hard. Like I think a weak point for me is when in this game in general, right? I would say Heavensward was the peak of it for me, along with probably parts of Shadowbringers, where they really, really try to focus on your character relationship with another character. And it's just such like a brick wall where it's like when Harshapan talks to you, he's like, yeah, you're the I'm.
It's because you don't get the option to have a positive or negative relationship.
But that's the thing. I like that because I don't talk very much to other people when I'm conversing with people. I let people converse at me. If you ask most of my friends in real life, I'm the brick wall roller.
I never had a chat with him.
Okay.
It's tough, Ronnie, because like the game is not deep enough for us to allow like any relationships or connections with NPCs. So you do have to have this just like awkward character.
I do like it when they do it sometimes, especially when it's more implied and you can kind of build the narrative yourself in your own head and like it kind of head like that's cool.
Shadowbringers guy, what was Ardbird? He was a good character that we had a relationship with, I think.
Yeah, like that. I think there's a lot you could build off there, especially because I guess essentially you kind of read your mind too in a way. So it's like you can imply conversations and the like. Like I think it's a really good way to build a relationship in this game. But when it's so direct, which is kind of the issues I have with Harshapan, and a little bit less with Graha a little bit less, where it's
I
hard.
wouldn't be friends with us. Like, we're really boring.
Yeah.
We save the world, but we're really boring.
I mean, there's implied stuff that's like we're kind of freaks sometimes, which is cool. You know,
Yeah.
I like that. But yeah. I mean, I'm saying that as a funny Western man, and what my issues with some of the writing in 14.
I mean, look at the primary type of like protagonist in like Western RPGs compared to Eastern RPGs.
Yeah.
Like, Eastern RPGs tend to have more blank slate main characters, whereas Western RPGs, if like with Baldur's Gate, a character has a lot of backstory built into them.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at Gerald of Rivia. You know.
Okay, I feel like we're circling
Yeah, we're
outside.
rehashing.
We are somewhere else right now. I
just
just wanted to mention one at the start of this. I was going somewhere. I was just saying that some of the some people, and I don't know if we've seen it on the subreddit, on the official forums, or just like whispers of it, but like some people are demanding Yoshi-P step down. That's
absurd.
Is absurd. Are you insane? People didn't even say that after Stormblood. And that was that was the only expansion that I remember there was any sort of discourse about before this. That's crazy. Whoever's
Listen, that feels like it's coming from the tourists. Like, I'm sorry to use that word, but like,
I think so too.
Sometimes when I read what you guys write, I'm like, oh, you're a tourist.
You can spare me your essays in the comments. I don't care for that.
Joking.
I've seen them in the previous videos. You've sent me your essays now. Don't need any more. Thanks. Okay.
I think my favorite argument I've seen from those people is they're like, well, 16 failed. In Dawntrail's a failure. Two strikes, you're out.
Yeah.
Get out of here, old man.
Get out of here.
It's really good.
Yeah. Anyways, we're not in a crisis. Yeah. The expansion story was mid. But
Yeah.
the content, I have never been more excited for an expert roulette. I have
Same.
Like,
I'm still doing expert.
First feeling ever in this game.
Yeah. The graphical update is amazing. There's the content in the expansion is good, except for the MSQ, and I understand that's but they make a whole, like
It's just like the MSQ is such a tiny part of this game.
Well, okay,
man.
no.
The MSQ's
it's a really
Hold
big
on.
part of this.
That is not correct.
It's a Final Fantasy game.
Let's not ignore that we've always said that the
That's
MSQ
most
is the main
important
draw
part
of the game.
I know, but I'm saying as in like when you're actually playing, right?
Yeah.
Like, your in-game time.
I know, but we can't.
Rollo,
The part
there are people that subscribe to this game only to play the MSQ.
Also, people are going to go back now, Rollo, to old episodes where you and all of us here agreed MSQ is the number one selling point of this game. That's why there are so many players that start playing MMOs just to experience Final Fantasy.
That's why Shadowbringers.
I'm just saying it, Rollo.
That it was. Shadowbringers is not, as much as we love Shadowbringers. The story of Shadowbringers is its strongest part. I wouldn't necessarily say the content of Shadowbringers is necessarily like the peak of content in 14 history.
No, the peak was Stormblood before.
Yeah,
exactly. But that's not what pulled people in, Rollo.
I'm just saving you from the comments, Rollo. I just thought you get this out.
I appreciate the thought, but I think also it's hard to compare considering that content isn't relevant. That makes it.
Yeah, I'm just saying MSQ was mid. We can agree. At least a little bit, but
Could have been better.
They could have been better. It was the pacing.
Our favorite MSQ in this game's history.
There you go. But we are higher on Dawntrail than most because the content, at least for me, pulls it up quite a bit. I think there's been an improvement to a lot of the content in there.
Yeah. I'll always say I think it's in line with every other expansion that came before it.
Yeah, pretty much, more or less.
Which is fine, but sometimes people want something more than what they've experienced before now.
Dawntrail will be the lower of the expansions overall through the in the eyes of the community.
Half, bottom half for sure.
And that's fine. Okay, is I
Yeah,
think
that's
we've
fine.
covered all bases, so you don't have again no more essays. I understand you do
Oh.
not like Dawntrail. Move on with your life, and we
That
will move on with
manifesto
ours.
down.
This is, you know what? No more talking about this. I'm saying it on the podcast now. I am
Oh, that's
It's
crazy. What?
over. We're
Okay.
ending Dawntrail. We're going to cover
Time for Yoshi-P to say
Minecraft.
something. Oh,
Speakers of
interesting.
Minecraft next week. I'm sure there'll be
Speakers
no
of Mundus.
speakers of
Guys.
Mundus.
exclusive interview with Notch.
It is over, guys. Oh, not him.
Like the rotting gumballs.
Notch
in
is
the
our
background,
first guest speaker.
like the mold.
No, what I
The
mean is,
M&Ms are everywhere.
what I mean is, I don't want to. We talk about the same. It's the
Yeah.
same discussion again and again.
There's nothing else to say at this point.
We're just bringing
exactly,
this
yeah.
up because Yoshi-P finally addressed it, and
Exactly.
hopefully that's the last time
Now
he'll
we're
talk about
moving
it.
on, hopefully. Next week, we already know we've got some cool interviews lined up, so look forward to
Yeah.
that.
If you don't like 14 anymore because Dawntrail sucked, then you don't have to listen to this podcast. You don't have to watch it anymore, and you definitely don't
That's
have to
true.
comment anymore either. So
That's so true.
thanks for the ride. See you in the next expansion. All right. That's that. That's the show. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Remember to follow on Twitter at SpeakersXLV, twitch.tv/SpeakersOfIreland, and youtube.com /SpeakersXLV, exclamation Discord in chat if you want to join our Discord server, and if you're watching on demand, link is in the description. Remember to watch the post shows coming up. If you're watching live, we'll be answering questions from the Syndicate, and that's it, because we're definitely not doing the fanfic, because we haven't finished formatting it. I haven't finished writing it, because we wrote it. We're writing
That's
it.
right.
See you
That's
later.
right.
Bye.
Bye.